Let's get it.
The first round of qualifiers for the VCT is over, but we did not get through it without some drama. One of the most exciting teams in North America was disqualified after a coach was found to have sent messages to players in the middle of games. Two little words were sent that have caused more drama in the Valorant community than we have seen in weeks. Help Sewer. All right, y'all, before we get into the video, I gotta remind you, as always, the like button, the subscribe button, and to ring the notification bell. So if you missed it this past weekend, the VCT had their first open qualifiers where teams like TSM, FaZe, Discord Kittens, and Girl Kissers all competed to qualify for spots for the group stage of NA Challengers 1. But one team in particular, T1, was disqualified from the event. So you may ask, how did this happen? TSM and T1 faced off on January 29th in the fourth round of the lower bracket, and everyone was pretty curious to see how these newly constructed teams would shape up. The first map was split, won by T1 13-7. TSM Sabrosa then quote tweeted his teammate Aleko/Levi, who was talking about ping, and Sabrosa said the following: "I'm playing versus a team that has their coach typing and probably talking to them mid-game GG 6v5. Soon after, he adds, "It's okay, guys, they got a warning." If you're like, this sounds a bit fishy, it's because it is. Per VCT rules, coaches are only allowed to talk to their team during specific times. During rounds is not one of those times. So map 2, Icebox, comes around and we get to the half, 8-4 with T1 leading. And then we see this appear on screen: tech pause, time TBD. Which is fine, tech pauses happen all of the time, but this tech pause was taking 40 minutes without any sort of word about what was happening. We get some yawning emojis from TSM, which doesn't really give us much to go off of. We got tweets from T1 players, a yawning emoji from Steel and Unlucky from Seven, and some GGWPs from the TSM players of Wardell and Sabrosa. A little bit later, T1's Curry said he might be the most unlucky player in NA Valorant history. At this point, people didn't have a clue what was going on. All that we knew was the map was no longer being played. They said they were made aware that a T1 coach was communicating with players during the game, not during pauses or timeouts when they're allowed to. Specifically, they broke Rule 7.2.11, unauthorized communications. Riot forced T1 to forfeit the match, and they were out of the qualifier via elimination. On February 1st, T1 made the decision to suspend their Valorant head coach, David Dennis, for the next open qualifier for what had occurred. That same day, David Dennis made a formal apology via Twitlonger saying the following: "The communication logs show that all communication I..."
Let me read here. First and foremost, I want to make it clear that I regret my actions. I did not represent our players, T1, and all our fans. Well, I am, and I'm truly sorry. I will continue to reflect on my actions and ensure that is never happens again. I also want to describe some context, not to justify my actions, but rather to provide some clarity to the community.
Had with players happened between rounds or to a player who was already eliminated. This communication consisted of encouraging/supportive statements and general reminders. One exception to this was help sewers. There are no excuses for this. I can only say that I got caught up in the heat of the moment and did not think before I acted. I did not participate in the practice of watching the live stream during a match or relaying any information to the players that they did not already have. At the time, all we knew was that a coach had accidentally typed in all chat. After the match, Wardell shed some light on what exactly was said. Two little words on Twitter: help sewer. The first map that was played, Split, is the only map that has the sewers call out, and obviously a coach telling a team to help any area of the map during a game would not be okay. People were shocked, and it didn't take long for help sewer memes to flood the timeline. Also, according to Sabrosa, the coach also said Rosa ult. Again, we don't know what the context for this was. Now, after the dust had settled with the T1 versus TSM match and the forfeit happened, Wardell made the accusation that he thought T1 players were using VPNs during the match.
Why were you on Texas servers? Because those guys were using VPNs. They were using
That's a great background, my dude.
VPN to make their ping higher and shit. Disgusting. They have 2 people on 5 ping, and the ping difference is fucking lower than Chicago. How does that even work? Makes no sense. This guy's like, he's using a VPN, and then they ask him, yo, what ping do you have without your VPN? And then Levi's like, why doesn't he just take it off and show us? And I'm like, yo, that's a great idea, instead of just telling us. Bro, I'm like, yo, this is so sketch.
However, according to a member of Nerd Street, the tournament operators, this has no merit. They stated that server selection was done according to the VCT rule set and the most fair server was chosen for this matchup. And now I promise you that's it for the drama. Because if we have learned anything this weekend, NA Valorant cannot get it together, whether it's in the server or on Twitter. So where are we now that the dust has settled? Well, T1 still has a chance to qualify in the next open qualifier. TSM failed to qualify this weekend, while Energy, Exit, Version 1, and the Guard have, but they'll have a shot next time around. There have been a lot of comparisons with this to the G2 esports situation in January, in which a coach was thought to be heard on voice comms, but no punishment or sanctioning was made. This has led some people to suggest that there has been an uneven enforcement of rules from Riot. I want to bring your attention to a tweet that summarizes how I really feel about all of this. I wonder how many coaches are illegally communicating during matches. If a rule is completely unenforceable, I would expect a significantly higher likelihood of that rule being broken. As far as I can tell, we only know this happened because a coach messed up. If Riot had not been made aware of that communication, we most likely would not have known. TDK brings this up in another tweet, but it's also kind of
extremely gross to me that there are coaches and teams that are okay with this behavior, regardless of whether the rules make sense. It's not a winning culture to be okay with cheating in any capacity. That makes sense.
scary to think that this might be a widespread issue that some people are okay with. The reason I say it's scary because if in this esport we are creating an environment in which this is acceptable behavior, some teams will abuse it, others won't, and that creates an uneven playing field. Liz is just typing in all chat. Okay, it's still cheating. It's still finding an unfair competitive advantage. It means that people find little to no issue with this happening. If you think this isn't a big deal or whatever, I just ask you one thing. Where do you draw the line? I feel like you're a karaoke menace, Danny. Am I right?
I was thinking about karaoke in the shower this morning, actually.
By the way, that is probably it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. See you guys in the next video. Peace.